Hey everybody, it's Carm here, back in town. Some of you, I know some of you saw my last video I shot from Sedona. This was presented to me by a fellow who bore a very strong resemblance to Doc Severinsen, the old Tonight Show band leader. Just as I was starting that trail that led up to that point in which I was filming, he presented this to me. He was the first person I saw on the trail, and he said something like, this is a gift from Mother Earth through me to you, and have a beautiful day. And he was gone, and just walked off. And I really take it as a, in retrospect, like it symbolizes really the gratitude I felt and feel to be able to have been out there during this time, especially at this time of year. So much of the country is under snow, extreme freeze, ice storms, everything else, and more so, furthermore, to be with some of my oldest and dearest friends, and just a reminder not to take any of that for granted. Yeah, it was a great trip. I had a really good time. Always meeting new people, a few new people along the way, and found some interesting things. Found some music. I always seem to find new places, little places to dig along the way, and old places as well. So yeah, found some pretty good music. I want to share this first piece though here. It's a ceramic wind bell, Solari wind bell, designed by a fellow named Paolo Solari. My friends took me to a place called Arcosanti, which is kind of a, I guess you could say it's like a self-sustaining community, first developed in the 1970s. Really, Paolo Solari's vision of what maybe like an urban utopia could be, finding the correlation between architecture and ecology. Still a work in progress. After 30 some years, Solari actually passed away last year, but there's people who are still kind of keeping the thing going. Just started on this book of interviews with Solari, and it's just a fascinating place. Oh, here's the website. Or for those interested, I could explain much more eloquently than I could. But, yeah, it's just a fascinating place, and I plan on giving this to my mom, this wind bell. She loves chimes and things like that. And, yeah, I found a few other things while I was out there. A book on Carl Jung. And a catalog here. It's a really neat bookstore and publishing company. This is some of the subjects covered. Right up my alley. Also the site for it. Yeah, this little bookstore, it's right out in a town called Cottonwood, just south of Sedona, right around where my friends live, friends who I stayed with. And yeah, I got some music here. Oh, there's this place very similar to Half Price Books, which I've been visiting for about 10 years. I think I might have mentioned it in previous videos. Bookman's. Yeah, it's very much like Half Price Books, only actually a bit larger, and I think even more expansive inventory. I'm not sure if there are other chains outside the state. I know it was at least maybe half a dozen throughout Arizona. The one I went to was in Flagstaff. So I just started real quick with some CDs. Laurel Emmers, never heard of her. It's, Welcome to Earthhaven. Flute and harp mostly. Kind of nice world fusion. Tim Story, synthesist, keyboardist. I've been a fan of for a long time. This is a compilation of his early music from late 70s to mid 80s. Lisa Franco, Bigger Than Blue on Innovative Communications. Nice harpist. Kind of like smooth, somewhere between, like, you could say, like smooth jazz and new age, and even a little bit of rock and roll. It's a nice eclectic mix. an old favorite of mine, R. Carlos Nakai, Native American flute player, with percussionist Will Clipman. This just came out last year. Really nice duets. The battery of percussion he plays, and R. Carlos Nakai, is, again, an old favorite. Beautiful flute playing. For a long time, they've played also with William Eaton, the guitar player. So, long-standing collaboration. Steve Roach, another old favorite of mine, with Mark Seelig, Night Bloom. It's a duo for electronics, synthesizers, and overtone voice. Very kind of dark, nocturnal, ambient soundscape. Over 70 minutes long. Basically one piece of music broken into 5 parts. Very much in line with what Steve Roach has been doing for the last decade or so. And an early Steve Roach reissue of a 3 cassette album from the mid-80s, Quiet Music. Very beautiful analog and digital synthesizers with flute. Well worth finding if you're interested in kind of ambient drone music. This is very light and sunny as opposed to the previous one, which is again much darker. So from the mid-80s. This is actually the original version I had, which is just one of the albums. And finally we have the vinyl. This is quite a surprise to find. I first bought the book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, in Arizona, I think around 2000 or maybe 01. And this is read by the author himself, Richard Bach. I've seen other versions where the words were set to music, but this is the first time I actually saw the actual reading by the original author. So this is pretty nice. And it brought back memories of seeing the book for the first time. It's been an old favorite for quite a while. Charles Lloyd Gita. A little shout to brother Chris, JC68, who showed this not long ago. I actually had this, dug it out recently and found I couldn't find the record. I had the sleeve, but I don't know what I did with it. I don't know if the record, maybe I put it in another sleeve, or I don't know what happened to it, but I was glad to find this for $3. One of his lesser known recordings, as Chris was pointing out. Very eclectic, a lot of Eastern influences, Far Eastern, as well as quite a bit of psych in there too, like psych rock and folk rock, and of course Charles Lloyd himself on flute and saxophone. So it was a nice find from, I believe it's from 73 or 74. And finally, I'd say the musical find of the whole trip, and I've only had one other album by this fellow, Horace E. Arnold, Tribe, another one from 1973. Ralph Towner, 12-string guitar. I'll buy anything, pick up anything with his name on it. One of my all-time favorites. George Mraz on bass, David Friedman on vibes and marimba, and Joe Farrell on saxophone, although Billy Harper is the one who's actually pictured. Well, it says Joe Farrell. And everyone's in wonderful form. I'd recommend this to anyone who's interested in jazz, improvised music. There's wonderful colors, wonderful interplay between the artists on here. Just the timbres between the instruments, like the vibes and the 12-string guitar and the percussion, is just really, it's just really nice. And it hasn't, it's from 1973, and it sounds like it could have been done, just the other day. It's just a timeless quality. So I'd highly recommend this. It was a real nice surprise to find this. And, that's about it for the finds for this trip. And again, I was just grateful to be out there, and it's nice to be back and just kind of getting reacclimated again, and catching up on a lot of your videos. I'm kind of going from person to person, watching and commenting, so if you're wondering why you're getting a slew of comments from me, I'm just catching up because I really didn't watch much while I was out there. Just wanted to get away from everything for a while, which again I was grateful to do. And before I forget, I also realized maybe at some point while I was out there, I reached and surpassed 100 subscribers, So thank you all who've subscribed. I think I got a few newer subscribers while I was out there, so yeah, just thank you all who've subscribed and who've been watching me along. It's much appreciated. And I haven't really even thought about doing like a contest or a thread or anything. Eventually, you know, I may think of something, but I just wanted to acknowledge that. So, well, again, thank you all for watching, and well, until next time, peace, love, joy to you all, and stay warm. Take care.